Stop everything. Breathe. If this video just showed up for you, it's because the universe is giving you a calling. And if you ignore it, you'll stay stuck in the same cycle. The truth is, illness doesn't start in the body. It starts in your vibration. When the symptom shows up, it's because your soul had been screaming for a long time, and you didn't listen. Thoth once said, "The visible is the reflection of the invisible." So why do most people still only treat the physical, while their energy field is still begging for healing? If you're tired of repeating patterns, getting sick for no reason, feeling like something's wrong even when your tests are normal, stick around. Because this video is going to flip the vibrational switch you've been asking for. But for that to happen, you've got to walk with me through every invisible layer of your being. And when you make it to the end, you'll understand why the universe brought you here right now. Disease is the effort nature makes to heal man. You're not even born yet. Your body is still forming. Your eyes haven't seen the light of this world. And even so, you already feel. Every beat of your mother's heart echoes like a silent drum in your field. Every emotion she carries, every thought she has, every place she walks into, all of it vibrates inside you as if it were your own. Because it is. Her vibration becomes your vibration. Her body is your first temple, and her inner state, your first code. This isn't a belief. It's a fact. Science has already proven that the fetus is extremely sensitive to the mother's emotional environment. Studies show that heartbeats change according to her emotional shifts, that her hormonal flow defines the baby's emotional chemistry, that the melody or chaos of her mind is absorbed into the child's unconscious, like a silent download, impossible to block. It's like the baby's energy field is a sponge, soaking up everything around without a filter. This is the first level of programming, and it happens way before logic, way before consciousness. It's a vibrational imprint. If the mother feels fear, the baby records fear as something normal. If the mother suffers, the baby learns that suffering is a constant of existence. If the mother lives in peace, that peace becomes a cellular memory. But if she lives in conflict, in despair, in imbalance, that chaos becomes the foundation. That's how the first layer of our subconscious field is formed. A layer that can't be verbalized, but that guides almost every future decision. The ancients knew this. In ancient Egypt, pregnant women were kept in vibrationally harmonious environments. Specific sounds, sacred geometries, plants, silence, and peace. All to make sure that the spirit would incarnate within a coherent frequency. Because they knew the body isn't just flesh. The body is organized vibration. And if that organization starts in chaos, the spirit arrives with noise that will echo for decades. In Hermeticism, this is the beginning of the law of rhythm. Everything vibrates. Everything vibrates. And every vibration influences and is influenced. The womb is a portal. And in this portal, the mother's field and the child's field are in total fusion. Everything that's felt in there isn't just a reflection, it's a recording. The first energetic recording of a human being happens in the dark, in silence, without words, but with absolute intensity. And it's that vibrational code that later shows up as beliefs, emotional reactions, impulses, unconscious patterns. How many times have you caught yourself overreacting to something? Feeling fear with no clear reason? Blocking yourself in front of something that logically makes sense? A lot of those reactions weren't born in your adult life. They weren't created by what people told you, but by what you absorbed at the beginning, before you even knew how to speak. Your conscious mind doesn't remember, but your body remembers. Your vibration remembers. Your energetic structure still carries that code to this day. The mother's vibration during pregnancy is like the first language, a language that doesn't speak in words, but in frequency, in energy, in emotion. And that language gets inscribed in the baby's subtle field like a master password. A password that, if it's not reprogrammed, keeps running in the background, sabotaging, limiting, blocking, not out of malice, but out of vibrational loyalty. The trap that forms in childhood and never leaves on its own. From the moment you're born until around 7 years old, you remain completely vulnerable to everything happening around you. It's like your mind is still open, with no filters, no defenses. Everything you see, hear, feel goes straight in. You absorb it as absolute truth. And the most dangerous part is, you don't even realize it. You're just living. But in reality, you're being shaped. Bruce Lipton called this the hypnagogic state, a brain state where your waves are in theta pattern, typical of hypnosis. In other words, during childhood, you're literally in a trance, a natural trance, a state of intense programming. It's not an exaggeration. You're being hypnotized by the reality around you. And who creates that reality? The adults around you, the environment you live in, the stimuli you receive. Every word your dad says, every emotional reaction from your mum, every rule at school, every judgment you hear, all of it goes in. And not just goes in, it stays. It stays as invisible structure, as form, as foundation. This is called structural belief. And the cruelest part is, you don't even know it's happening. Because you have no way to question it. You just accept it. Because that's how the child's brain works. And these beliefs aren't just ideas. They become systems. They start generating automatic thoughts, which then produce feelings, which create physical sensations, that repeat, that become habits, behaviors. And eventually, your reality. You grow up thinking you're making choices, but really, you're just repeating patterns, reacting, replaying what you absorbed. Do you believe you're not good enough? That you'll be abandoned? That you have to work super hard to be loved? That money only comes with pain? That the world is dangerous? Then your mind will do everything it can to confirm that. It will ignore anything that doesn't match those beliefs. It will attract situations that reinforce that script. It will keep you inside what it knows, because to the subconscious, what's familiar feels safe. This is exactly where Thoth's teaching becomes so powerful. He said the mind is the matrix of the universe, that everything you experience out there first took shape in here, in the invisible, the subtle, the mind. That's the heart of the law of mentalism. The universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. And most of the time what you are is what was programmed into you during childhood. Because feelings are frequencies, emotions have density, every repeated thought generates a chemistry, and that chemistry shapes your nervous system, your posture, your immunity. The mind vibrates, and the body responds. And if that vibration is based on fear, guilt, scarcity, or abandonment, the body collapses. But it doesn't happen all at once. The wheel turns slowly, in disguise, quietly, until one day, it breaks, and what seemed emotional becomes physical. And this is exactly the point where the pattern becomes solid. And without realizing it, you enter a game that feels impossible to escape. Because when a pattern solidifies in the mind, it starts to emit a frequency, and that frequency becomes a field. Invisible, silent, but highly active. It doesn't scream, it just vibrates. And the universe, which is governed by laws far subtler than human logic can understand, responds to that vibration with absolute precision. That's why you attract the same type of person over and over, the same challenges, the same frustrations. You think you're unlucky, you think you're cursed, but it's not that. It's resonance. It's correspondence. What you carry inside is what shows up outside. That's the foundation of the hermetic law of attraction. A principle taught for thousands of years. Like attracts like. But it's not about thinking positive or repeating mantras. It's not about what you wish for. It's about what you vibrate. Desire is on the surface. Vibration is at the root. And the universe doesn't respond to the surface. It responds to the root. So even if you say you want prosperity, if your base vibration is scarcity, that's what you'll keep attracting. Even if you wish for love, if your vibration is soaked in fear of abandonment or rejection, the relationships that come will always reflect that hidden pattern. And this doesn't happen because the universe wants to punish you. It happens because it's absolutely loyal to your vibration. It doesn't judge. It just mirrors. Reality doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. And this vibration that drives everything is built over years, as we've just seen. But here's the point almost nobody sees. That same vibration that attracts people and experiences also attracts physical conditions. Yes, even illnesses have a frequency. Every negative emotion generates a specific vibrational signature. Anger has one vibration. Fear, another. Guilt, shame, anguish. They all have different frequencies. And when these emotions are constant, the body's vibrational field syncs with those frequencies. Over time, that internal state shows up as symptoms. Because the body is just the last part of the system. It simply obeys what the field vibrates. What we call a physical symptom is often the final result of a long chain of disorganized vibrations. An unresolved feeling that became an emotional habit. A habit that turned into a field. And that field, over time, starts to compromise your vital energy, your circulation, your immunity, your chemical balance, until the body starts showing signs. First mild, then stronger, until collapse. Do you know someone who's always self-sabotaging? Who gets better for a while and then goes back to the same place? Who repeats the same pattern of suffering, even when they have all the tools to change? That's not lack of willpower. It's frequency. It's a vibration so familiar the person returns to it like they're going home. Even if that home is a toxic place full of pain, because the subconscious seeks what's familiar, not what's ideal. The frequency of illness exists, and it's in the air. If everything vibrates, if everything pulses in waves, then what we call disease isn't an isolated event, but a specific vibrational signature. Every emotion you feel generates a vibration. This isn't a metaphor, it's literal. There's a field around you that moves, responds, and records everything you feel, even if you don't say a single word. This field is real, and when it gets filled over and over with dense emotions, it changes. Anger, fear, resentment, abandonment, insecurity. Each of these has its own energy pattern. You might not see it, but your field does. It absorbs, stores, emits, and the more these states repeat, the stronger the field becomes with that charge. It's like you're tuning your frequency to a specific station, and once you're locked in, you start broadcasting it all the time, without realizing it. This is the root of many illnesses that seem hereditary, but are actually inherited vibrations, not because they were in the blood, but because they were shared in the family field. Have you noticed how certain patterns repeat from generation to generation? Women who attract the same kind of toxic relationships, men who go through the same financial struggles as their fathers, children who develop similar illnesses to their grandparents, even without a solid medical explanation. That's vibration being passed on. The environment you grow up in vibrates a certain way. The conversations, the fears, the beliefs, the silences, all of that vibrates. And if you stay in that environment long enough, your frequency adapts. You tune into that pattern, even if, rationally, you don't agree with it. The field doesn't need your permission, it just reacts. And that's how the vibration of illness settles in. Sometimes, long before symptoms appear. Thoth used to say that vibration comes before form. Nothing in the material world appears without first existing in its subtle state. Matter is just the last layer of reality, the densest, the slowest. The body is the end of the line, and when it shows something, it's because the matching vibration was already there for a long time. This is the essence of the law of vibration, one of the 7 hermetic laws. Everything is movement. Nothing is still. Nothing is fixed. Everything vibrates. So the question isn't if you're vibrating, you are. The question is, at what frequency are you vibrating right now? Because that's what's shaping your life. And more importantly, it's what's directly influencing your health. This needs to be said clearly. Illness is not, in most cases, a punishment, a curse, or bad genetics. It's the natural response of a body that has synced up with a distorted vibrational field. But that doesn't mean you're to blame. Quite the opposite. It means you can change. Because if vibration created the current state, a new vibration can dissolve it. This is real, and it's not an external process. It doesn't depend on someone healing you. It depends on you accessing what's holding up the field that caused the imbalance. The key is recognizing the origin, and the origin isn't in the symptom, it's in the frequency. But to transform that frequency, you need to go through 4 subtle portals, 4 areas that can't be ignored anymore if you want to change the vibration you emit, and therefore change the reality you live in. They're like subtle gateways, and only by consciously walking through them do you truly begin the self-healing process. Because real healing doesn't exist without realignment, and that realignment has to happen from the inside out. Each of these areas holds a key, and when all of them are in harmony, the field starts pulsing with strength again. The first portal is the physical body. It doesn't matter how much you meditate, study, or practice spirituality. If you're constantly toxic, exhausted, physically out of balance, your body's vibration is going to collapse. Sleep, diet, addictions, sedentary habits. All of that is condensed energy. What you eat is information. What you drink is code. What you let into your body directly affects your field. And the body is the base. It's the chalice where everything happens. The temple. And like every sacred temple, it needs to be clean, nourished, cared for. The second portal is the mind. But we're not talking about random thoughts or inspirational quotes. We're talking about the pattern of thinking you feed every day. What do you mentally say to yourself? What kind of image do you project of life? The mind is a constant wave emitter. And those waves are always shaping the field around you. Emotions don't come out of nowhere. They follow the mind's command. And the mind operates based on beliefs. Clearing that flow, reprogramming those circuits, is like resetting your reality compass. The third portal is relationships. Because no healing is stable when you're surrounded by environments that make your energy sick. People are frequencies, and every connection you maintain activates a certain pattern within you. Some connections light you up, heal you, strengthen you. Others drain you, weigh you down, make you sick. You might be taking care of yourself, treating yourself, but if you're still tied to relationships that keep you in the same vibrational state, your field can't hold. You always end up back at square one, and worse, you start thinking the problem is you. The fourth portal is your purpose. What do you send out into the world? What's your vibration in the collective? It's not about having a big title or an epic mission. It's about your presence. How are you affecting the space around you? Are you a source of harmony or tension? Are you vibrating expansion or contraction? Because the body knows when it's out of alignment with the soul. When you live just to meet obligations, without joy, without true expression, the body gets sick. Because it knows something's out of place. These 4 portals form the structure of your vibrational field, and if one of them is out of balance, the others are affected. It's like an orchestra. If one instrument is out of tune, the whole music loses its harmony. You might not notice it right away, but the field does. The energy flows with less ease. Vitality drops. The vibration scatters, and self-healing loses strength. The ancients called this realignment internal alchemy. The true alchemist doesn't turn lead into gold with his hands. He turns density into light within himself. He refines the body, organizes the mind, purifies connections, and reconnects his soul with the divine flow of creation. That's the secret behind ancient rituals, hermetic practices, and hidden codes. It's not about magic. It's about vibrational coherence. Because only when everything in you vibrates in harmony, healing becomes inevitable. And it's in this state of harmony that something starts to awaken. A silent sensor, a hidden center inside you that already knows what needs to be healed. It watches everything. It feels everything. And if you learn to listen to it, it can guide you on a path no doctor, no guru, no outside therapist can reach. The ancestral knowledge that healed without medicine. This sensor isn't external. It doesn't show up with ready-made formulas. It doesn't shout, demand, or force. It whispers. And those whispers are what many call intuition. But in this context, we're talking about something even deeper. The silent intelligence of your vibrational field. The inner awareness that knows before the mind, that feels before the body. Have you ever woken up with that feeling that something was wrong, and later found out it actually was? Have you ever thought about someone intensely, and suddenly they showed up? Have you ever had physical pain with no clear reason, and only later realized it was connected to some emotional issue you were ignoring? That's not coincidence. That's your intuition trying to warn you, trying to anticipate something that, if ignored, will show up more intensely. Headache? Maybe it's not just stress. Maybe it's mental overload. Muscle tension? Could be you're carrying too much responsibility. Stomach pain? Maybe it's swallowed anger, an unresolved conflict. And what do? We take a pill, block the symptom, and move on. But the symptom was just the alarm, a request from the body saying, "Hey, listen to me." Thoth called this listening the connection to the One. He taught that the soul always knows, that the body doesn't lie, that illness is the final stage of not listening. When we ignore subtle signs for too long, the body has to scream. And the scream shows up as a breakdown, chronic anxiety, insomnia, panic attacks, burnout. The body shuts down because you didn't stop when it whispered. And medicine calls this failure, exhaustion, a crash. But Hermeticism calls it vibrational consequence. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing shows up without having a source in the field. Thoth used to say, "Know thyself, and you will know all the gods of the universe." That means everything that happens outside has a mirror inside. And intuition is that mirror activated. But you need to learn to trust it. And trusting it takes silence. Because the field doesn't speak through rush. It speaks in the space between thoughts. In the pause before a decision. In the feeling that tightens your chest for no logical reason. Intuition is an energetic compass. And every true alchemist learns to obey that call. Because that wisdom, as subtle as it seems, is older and more powerful than any modern medicine. The ancient peoples knew this, and instead of numbing the symptom, they searched for the symbol. Because every symptom carries a symbol, an archetypal cause, And if you see the symbol, you understand the source. But if you ignore it, the cycle repeats and repeats until something more serious forces you to stop. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time when the body was heard, when the signs from the field were taken seriously, a time when healing happened before the pain became physical. Because the sacred wasn't separate from daily life, it was part of living. And that's the time we need to look back to now. Before modern medicine took over the world with pills and diagnoses, there was another kind of healing. A vibrational healing. Deep, conscious. A healing that didn't wait for collapse. It prevented it. It harmonized. It reorganized the field before the body was affected. And that wisdom has survived centuries, even though many tried to erase it. Civilizations like ancient Egypt, the Mayans, the Druids, the Vedas of India, they all used tools we now call alternative, but were actually the original healing practices. Plants weren't just medicine. They were living spirits with specific vibrational codes. Sounds weren't just music. They were frequencies used to cleanse, release, and align. Crystals, colors, symbols, movements. All of it was part of a system that understood the human being as a multidimensional field. But all of this only works if one single condition is met. Because it doesn't matter how many techniques you try, how many crystals you use, how much tea you drink, or how many hours you meditate if you don't access this key. It's not found in formulas. It's found in a vibrational state, an internal code that turns any practice into a miracle. And without it, everything stays on the surface. Because the real key that turns any practice into a miracle isn't outside, it's inside. And it's called vibrational coherence. It's when what you feel, what you think, and what you believe are in perfect alignment. When there's no conflict between your heart and your mind. When there's no sabotage between what you say you want and what you're actually vibrating. Jesus knew this. He never said healing came from him. He looked into people's eyes and said, "Your faith has healed you." It wasn't about blind faith or memorized prayers. It was about a vibrational state, a field in perfect receptivity. Because when you believe with your whole body, with your whole heart, something changes. The field expands, the energy reorganizes, and healing happens. This phenomenon has a name. It's called heart coherence, a state where your heart rhythm syncs with your brain and with the energetic field around you. And when that happens, the whole body responds. Breathing slows down, the nervous system balances, the cells open up for regeneration, and the body's vibration completely shifts. This is also tied to the law of polarity, because faith and fear are just two ends of the same vibration, and you choose which end to tune into. Doubt weakens the field, faith strengthens it, anxiety blocks, trust unlocks. And this isn't just spiritual talk, it's been measured in labs. The heart field of someone in a coherent state is wider, more stable, more organized. It's like reality becomes more flexible in that moment. And there's more. Heart coherence doesn't depend on complex techniques. All it takes is entering a state of presence, breathing consciously, connecting with an elevated emotion, gratitude, love, forgiveness, and holding it for a few minutes. The field responds, the vibration shifts, the body feels it, and you realize effortlessly that something has already started to transform. This state isn't artificial, it's natural. You've been in it before, when you looked into someone's eyes and felt peace, when you sat in nature in silence and felt like you belonged, when you cried with gratitude for something you couldn't even explain. Those moments are portals, and the more you activate them consciously, the more coherence becomes your natural state. And then healing doesn't need to be forced, it just happens. But here's the decisive point. Because even if you've felt all of this just now, even if your vibration is realigning as you hear these words, it could all disappear if one thing doesn't change: the beliefs you carry. When you feel, think, and vibrate in coherence, you reprogram yourself. But if deep down you still believe you're not worthy, that you're not capable, that it's too hard, those beliefs will keep shaping your reality. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you believe is true. And if your inner truth still says it's not possible, then healing comes to your door, but it doesn't enter. Thoth said, "Man is what he believes himself to be." That's not a metaphor, it's a vibrational principle. Your beliefs generate your thoughts activate your emotions create your vibration, and your vibration materializes your reality. It all starts with belief. It all starts with how you see yourself. You could practice every exercise in the world, but if your foundation is still built on scarcity, pain, unresolved trauma, you'll keep attracting experiences that reaffirm that field. And that's why so many people get better, but then fall back to the same place. Because their vibrational structure wasn't really transformed. It was just temporarily relieved. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you is ready to wake up. Write this in the comments. I listen to my field. I'm ready to heal. This isn't just a sentence. It's a vibrational seal. When you write it, you anchor that decision into the physical world. And if you want to help the channel spread more content like this across the world, there's a link in the first pinned comment where you can support directly. Or, if you prefer, use the thanks button here on YouTube. That way, besides supporting, you're helping this message reach even further. And don't leave yet. There's a special video on the screen now, waiting to show you the next step in your inner healing. Click it. That's where we keep walking this journey together.